Not what I was expecting at all. So when I first came onto the course, it is very different in comparison to what you do watch on TV, because it is a TV show at the end of the day and this is reality. But what I do enjoy the most about law is the way it gets me to think a lot on my feet, my analytical skills, etc. It just helps me improve overall as an individual.
So I would say that law as a subject covers such a vast range of areas of human life, social life, that when you think about it, everything from the family to the corporation to the relationship that we have with the government to healthcare to warfare, all of it has got a legal dimension to it. So if you kind of stand back and think, oh, is there something about that, something about the way in which the law interacts with one of those areas of life that fascinates me, then I think you're onto something with regard to why you might want to study law, why that would appeal to you, and why you'd want to devote 3 or 4 years of your life to studying that subject. So I'm not sure whether, for me, that was the kind of question I was asking myself when I thought about studying law, as opposed to other subjects I was considering, like politics or philosophy or history or English literature. But I don't know what you think as well, whether those questions resonated with you, or whether it was a different sort of pathway that drew you into law when you were first thinking about applying to study the subject.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think
Right.
so. I knew I liked law, but I didn't know which section, even to now, like which section of law I particularly like. And I think with law, not knowing is okay, because I didn't study it at A level. I just knew I had an interest in it. But you get to explore the different aspects of law at university. And then when I did the LPC, and even in practice, if you're doing a training contract or if you're moving around a law firm, you can try different seats and you can sit in a seat and be like, I know for a fact this isn't for me. I've sat in law lectures and I've been like, oh God, I know this one is definitely not for me. I absolutely hate it. And I think that's fine. And not knowing is kind of the best way to go into it for me, I found, because you can try things out. You don't have a set mindset, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think if you are at a stage where you're 16, 17, and you're not completely sure, it's okay to not know. At 16, 17, you're not expected to make the biggest decisions. And university is a huge decision, figuring out your life path. So you can try it, you can see if it's for you, but equally you'll find so many things that aren't for you. But that's also okay. I think it's part of the journey.
Yeah, I think it's a point that Phil touched upon. Law regulates a wide spectrum of things, from healthcare and treatment decisions to warfare and rules of engagement. So you've got one side of the spectrum saving people, the other side of the spectrum quite a different story. So I think for me I knew that there was such that broad spectrum and there was many different topics to study, and I suppose it was just being interested in seeing where it would lead me. I never had any firm plans when I first embarked on it. It was just sort of that interest in going forward and trying to find out more about it.
And I think that translates into your grades as well, because when I was here, I didn't necessarily do the best in criminal law. That wasn't my area. But that is what I went on to practice in. And I've also done personal injury, maritime law. Whatever you do, you don't get boxed in. You can go off and do something else. So it offers you that variety of experience. And then you'll find your way. You don't have to have it all figured out.
And for me, before embarking onto the law course, I never really knew that I wanted to do law. So prior to coming onto the course, I'd watched a lot of Suits or How to Get Away with Murder, and when watching them, it's what really drove me to choose law, is like how the defence comes up with their case versus the prosecution, and then how the jury then decide on the fate of the defendant. And yeah, that's what drew me into law, basically.
I mean, it's interesting you say, you weren't sure about it as well, because I think, people's pathway into law, it very much reflects themselves. Some people do have a clear sense that, maybe from when they were a teenager, they want to become a lawyer, whereas other people, it's very much, they're sifting between different degree options, and they see something in law that they can perhaps relate to or think, actually, that will capture my interest, and it will also give me some kind of career options within possibly the legal profession, but beyond that as well. So, yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's skills. Like you said, it doesn't have to be particularly legal skills or what we consider legal skills when we watch TV shows like Suits and things like that. But it can just be like, when I took at A level, I took English literature, and I found when you're analysing text, I was quite good at picking things out that are quite obscure, and that's to do with English literature. Like, I love reading, and I always pick up on plot lines and things like that. But it's that analysis and that kind of ability to read something and pick up on minute little details. That's a skill for a lawyer, but you don't necessarily put reading and kind of taking a law degree or being a lawyer with put those two things together. But it is just the skills that I had and the interests that I had that led me to law. But in a traditional sense, none of them were really legal or what we'd say were legal.
I think it's interesting that you said about what you had seen or in a film or on TV, and then that sort of interested you to come and study it. Were you expecting what you saw to be exactly what it would be like in real life?
No, it's not what I was expecting at all. So when I first came onto the course, it is very different in comparison to what you do watch on TV, because it is a TV show at the end of the day, and this is reality. But what I do enjoy the most about law is the way it gets me to think a lot on my feet, my analytical skills, etc. It just helps me improve overall as an individual.
Yeah, I think it does. It definitely segments how you would solve a problem and the different stages. I think that's an important thing, is how, when you're faced with this issue or there's a dispute, how do you get what you want from that? And breaking that down into the stages of the law or whatever that you get taught here or in any university, you take that and apply it into your practice. But it's certainly not, for example, I mean, some of the soaps that you see on TV when they have courtroom scenes, I sort of go a little bit like shiver a little bit, because it's nothing like what it is in real life. So I think there's that common misconception that what you see is what you get, but it's very much not like that. Law can be done in many different ways. It can be done in a courtroom, or it can be a solicitor's letter. I mean, the power of just a simple letter sent to somebody from a solicitor is, it has quite a dramatic effect.
Having said that, though, there are things that I watch that I really enjoy, because I think, oh, well, that reminds me of something that came up at work, or, it kind of bleeds into each other. Watching How to Make a Murderer, that kind of thing, and you're thinking, how would this play out in the UK, bearing in mind my experience as a prosecutor? So I think that's something that we can really build on at the university, just trying to encourage that interest, because it's something that we're dealing with every day and something that we also use as our entertainment. Everyone likes Netflix, I think.
So I guess it's kind of like thinking about how law is presented in popular culture,
Yeah.
and using it as a reference point maybe to, draw students in as a kind of a hook in various subjects, but also then recognizing where, the reality, as you were saying, it is much different. It's, it's grittier, it's less slick, it's, it doesn't have the glamour that a lot of these law dramas have. So, yeah.
I think that's interesting, because somebody said to me they were watching 24 Hours in Police Custody, and it had gone from, obviously, the alleged crime had been committed, the police had gone, they'd investigated it, they'd arrested somebody, they'd put somebody on trial. And then at the end of that programme, it comes and goes, they were found not guilty. And they were like, how did that person get found not guilty when all of that police investigation was just so concrete that it was him? And I think they then also enrolled onto a law degree and studied law. And I think it's that inquisitive nature of it to find out how exactly is it possible for somebody to be found not guilty. And then you come and you understand the complexities, the nature of how law works. I think that has a big influence as well on how it is portrayed in real life or on TV, and how it actually plays out in a courtroom and within the law.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
think it's
really.
linked to the local community as well, because you'll see stuff that you do in court will turn up in the Hull Daily Mail. That's obviously only really relevant to local practitioners, but you know, you deal with things that have national importance as well. And starting a law degree, you're starting a process. If you go on to be a practitioner, you could be doing something really important. But that's one thing that I found really fun about the job, is that you were connected to the community.
Yeah, I think it's important as well because that's sort of like the legal practice element of it. But when I first started at university, it was made clear that 50% of law graduates go on to be a lawyer, and 50% go on to do something completely different. And that sort of shocked me a little bit. And I think it's important to, for a period of time, I was sort of thinking, do I want to go on to be a lawyer? Do I want to take this law degree down a different path and do something else with it? In the end, I chose to become a lawyer, but there are a lot of people that I was at university with who chose to do something completely different. They went into business, marketing or something like that. And I think there are skills that you learn on a law degree, problem solving, how to structure something, how to tell a story, that you can use in other areas that you just would not think apply.